What's going on, everybody, and welcome into today's video where we are talking about important questions that you need to be asking sellers over the phone when you're negotiating your real estate deals. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. We are all about bringing in 6 figures a month or more on a low overhead and a low budget. My name is Dave Perichin. Welcome to The Cream, and let's get right into it. So today, really it falls into the category of seller negotiation, and if you watch our videos, you know the majority of what we do, pretty much all of what we do, is closing deals over the phone. So these questions are very, very important, and I'm going to share with you in this video not only the questions, but really why they're important, because what we're doing when we're on the phone is uncovering information. As a real estate investor, your number one job is solving problems, but you need to find out what these problems are, but you can't expect the seller to just get on the phone with you and give you the truth and give you their pain and give you their real reasons and give you their problems and challenges right over the phone. It's not going to happen. So you need to be like a detective. I'm not telling you to be sneaky. I'm telling you to make it a comfortable and authentic conversation where the person feels open to sharing things with you, and these questions are going to help uncover exactly kind of where the seller's at in the process as well. So the first question is, what have you done to sell the house already? Probably doesn't sound that important of a question, but it's extremely valuable to you. So what have you done to sell the property already? And what you're listening for is, have they listed the property with a realtor already? Typically, if the property is already on the market with a realtor, the deal's pretty much done. I'll tell you why. If you're wholesaling or doing novations, essentially what are you doing? You're trying to flip this property or find a buyer for this property. If it's on the market already, then everybody's already seen this particular property. It's going to be difficult. First off, you shouldn't be trying to wholesale properties that are on the market anyway, and I'm talking about properties that are listed with realtors. That's a very amateur move. You should only be going after off-market properties to own or control and to run your business with off-market properties. If it's already listed with a realtor, it pretty much blows it out of the water to make it a good wholesale deal because everybody's already seen it. And then same goes with novations, because when you're doing a novation, basically what you're doing is, with the seller's permission, is putting the house on the market. If the house is already on the market, it just blows that out of the water as well. So we're not that happy when we find out the property is listed with an agent. It's pretty much makes it a pretty short conversation at that point. And what you can say is maybe learn a little bit about their situation and say, if the house doesn't sell, call me. But I would even ask, is that your rock bottom price that it's listed for? And if it is, it's going to be tough to get a deal done if the property is already listed. Now, also try to find out if the property previously was listed and it didn't sell. I've been seeing this more and more, as a matter of fact. People listed their property and they couldn't sell it with a realtor, and now they're calling an off-market buyer like us. It makes it tough as well. Again, even though it may not be on the market presently, still, if you try to lock up this deal and contract and then sell it to an off-market buyer, they're going to, as soon as they plug the address into Google, they're going to see it was listed, and it's just not as desirable for these properties that previously were listed, and definitely properties that are currently listed. Now, another thing that you want to listen for when you're finding out what they've already done to sell the property is, have they spoken to other investors and wholesalers on the phone? I'll be the first to say, I love my fellow wholesalers and investors out there. I never talk bad about anybody. However, I'm very competitive at the same time. I want to win the deal. I want you to win the deal. May the best person win. If you're better, you deserve it. If I'm better, I deserve it. That's what it's all about. Never trash your competition. It's only subconsciously to the seller going to make you worse and make you sound worse. And then basically, you may end up knowing this wholesaler. You may end up creating future business opportunities with this other investor. So never trash your competition. I think it's important to say that right off the bat. But listen to the seller. If they are talking to other investors, try to find out, did this other investor make an offer? And if they did, try to find out what that offer is. I asked a lady just today, she's working with another investment company, and I always go for it. I'm like, well, what did they offer you? And if they don't give you a number, just say, what is the ballpark? What range are they in? and say, if I was to give you somewhere around this, would that be more, or would that be a better offer or a worse offer than them? Always try to find out where your competition's at. You have to. You're a business person. I'm not ever going to trash the competition. However, I want to find out where they're at. I want to compete, and I want you guys out there competing as well. So find out if they're working with any other investors. Never trash your competition. However, try to find out where the competition's at. See if you could beat their offer. And if you can, go get that deal. Also, if they've worked with other investors or wholesalers, see if that wholesaler's actually gone to the property. Or maybe they're a follower of this channel and they're just getting them over the phone like we are. If they have been to the property, they potentially have slightly an edge on you, right? Because maybe that investor actually went belly to belly. I think the person who goes face to face does have an advantage over the person who just closes over the phone. Now, I'm a phone closer, and I teach you guys to close over the phone as well. I like it because I don't really have the capacity to drive around for appointments. I would drive around for an appointment if it meant making a huge spread and it was within a reasonable radius of where I'm presently at, but I'm looking to get these things over the phone. Try to find out if they're working with other investors, if that investor actually came out to the property. Also, here's a side note, pro tip, see if you could get the sellers to send you pictures of the property before you get into the numbers. But if you know they're motivated and our current process is we'll get a property into contract and we'll send out our boots on the ground to go take pictures, and we actually have been paying for inspections on properties recently, but always try to see if the seller will send you pictures. That's going to give you an edge. Okay, because then if you do get it locked up right there over the phone, you already have some pictures. You can already start to try to sell this property if you're wholesaling it. But pay attention to that. Ask the seller, what have you done to sell the property already? Listen if they've already listed the property. If it's on the market now, it's probably a deal killer. And then find out if they're working with any other investors and find out where those investors are price-wise. Next question, it might sound like common sense, but this is very valuable information for you as the investor over the phone, is you got to find out, is the property vacant or occupied? Now, we want the property vacant. I'm here to tell you, as a wholesaler, as somebody who does novations and flips, it is so much easier to operate your business with vacant properties. If it's occupied with the seller, okay, we can work around that. We'll get to that. But if it's occupied by a tenant, those are the worst. I'm telling you, we'll still do these deals, but these tenant properties, and then sometimes you got the seller, they don't want to spook the tenant. They don't even want to tell the tenant that they're selling the property. It can be very complicated when the property is occupied, either by the seller, by one of the seller's friends, family, or acquaintances, or especially if it's rented out. Right? If it is rented out, you got to get the lease information, find out if it's month to month, find out the lease terms, find out what the tenant's paying. You can still move forward, but you still got to get inside there. And if you're trying to wholesale the property and these buyers now got to make arrangements through the tenants, it could get a little bit convoluted. We always prefer the properties to be vacant. Now, if it's occupied by the seller, this leads you into question number 3, and this is very important, is what is your plan? Mr. Seller, you live in this house, 123 Main Street right now. Tell me about the plan. So you sold the house today. Do you already have another house? If they don't even have another house and they don't even have a plan on what they're going to do, it's a less motivated lead. It's starting to become this long-term nurture. You almost have to help the seller with their plan of what's going to happen after the sale. And we do this, everybody. You got to go above and beyond. In fact, I sent movers out to a seller's house today to quote a move, because the seller's elderly and they don't have the capacity to move themselves. Like, you've got to help them create a plan for what's going to happen after the sale, and then you got to help them execute the plan. If it means getting movers, just work it into the deal. We're paying the tab for this moving company to move this seller's stuff after we sell the house. But if they live there and you got to find out what their plan is. If they don't have a plan, you got to start to help them create that plan. What we've been doing for people who downsize, typically, we talk to a lot of elderly people, older people, and they just want to downsize. They just don't want to maintain the house anymore. That's a very common lead for us. I've been helping them look up these brand new build construction apartments, and they could be a little pricey. I mean, $1,700-1,800 a month. I've been sending people to these apartments. They love them. At first, the seller thinks, oh, I would never want to rent an apartment. And I say, no, the things have changed from maybe what you're thinking an apartment is. This is like a community. You guys know these beautiful apartments they're building all over the place. Indoor pools. I'm in Ohio. They got indoor pools at some of these places. It's crazy. Indoor pools, exterior pools, workout facilities. It's like a whole community. And sometimes when you can buy a house from somebody who's downsizing and just wants a no maintenance situation, you put hundreds of thousands of dollars in their pocket when you buy their property, and now they're sitting on a big pile of cash and they're living in a great situation. The seller's happy, you're happy, everybody's happy, but you got to help them devise this plan. And then finally, question number 3, again, it might sound obvious, but this is bar none the most important question. Why are you selling? You got to get to the root of why you're selling, why the seller is selling. You got to get to the motivation. Again, you're a real estate investor and you're here to solve problems. So you've got to get to the root of the problem. Why are they selling? And what we are looking for, the people that we're able to help the most, are motivated sellers. They have something going on in their life, whether it be a divorce, a medical situation, a job transfer, downsizing. Maybe they need more space. Maybe their family's growing. Maybe it's an inherited property. Maybe the house needs work. You've got to get to the root of the crux of why they are selling, because that is where you're able to add value to the seller. You're able to come in and create a convenient situation for them to relieve themselves from whatever pressure this property is causing them, and you're going to do that by creating a cash purchase. Remember, you're approaching the seller. When you understand what their motivation is, you can explain to them working with you is a phenomenal option because you're going to bring cash to the table. This way they don't need to rely on a buyer who's got to rely on approvals or appraisals, inspections, nothing like that, right? So you're able to create a very solid relief plan, but you have to know what this motivation is. You got to know what the problem is if you're going to help them solve it, right? So why are you selling? I'm going to leave you with this. Make sure you have some rapport built before you get right into the reason why they're selling. When you have some rapport, they're going to be more honest with you. They're going to feel more comfortable. If you get right into why they're selling and right into their situation, you're going to come across as a bit too salesy. I don't want you to be that way. I want you to be authentic. You're going to get more deals by just being yourself, being genuine, being a problem solver, right? But you got to make the seller somewhat comfortable. A great way to build rapport is build rapport around the house. That's your only common ground when you first get on the phone with the seller. Talk about the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. Talk about, how long they've been living there, and things of that nature. Talk about the house, but then lead the conversation into their personal situation and, of course, why they're selling being the most important question for you to kind of understand so you can help them the fastest and help them the best. So with that being said, everybody, get on the phones. Don't avoid the work. You can't escape the grind. It's all about the RGAs, revenue generating activities. I will be right back here with you guys tomorrow. Let's get on the phone. Let's help some people. Let's write some contracts, and we'll see you on the next video.